Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and this is episode 85 of Tales of Tamriel, a Dungeon Crawler Network production. That is our fourth co-host, the Little Milk Drinker. Yes, I hear him, and Thais is going crazy with him. Yeah, I am your host, Aggelos, he who is constantly getting milk for the baby. That works. One day, gonna have a little mug for him so he can drink meat. And also joining me is the man to my, well, if you're looking at the video right now, which we're trying in something new here. So for anyone who's listening to this in podcast land, definitely go ahead and check out the YouTube page. And to my, I guess this would be my, I got to do the left-right thing. It would be to my, hold up to the camera. I don't know. Who knows? Asteldian, how are you, sir?
Well, that's a long intro. Hello. I'm good, thanks. And just looking out.
Yeah. All right. And the person who, this will be easy, right below me, Avi, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing good. It's the first time to have my face on a camera, but yeah, hello.
Nice. So
exciting.
exciting. All right. Quiet now. All right, well, we've got an exciting show for you guys because there's a lot of news to talk about. We were not available to podcast last week. So we're here now. That's right. And there was tons to talk about. So let's go ahead and roll right into it. First up, the elephant in the room. We talked about it last episode during Orctoberfest. Play on words. Orctoberfest, but now this is kind of like Orctoberfest 2.0 because we got tons of more information, including a release date. That will be November 2nd.
Early.
Yeah, like it's sooner than I expected in a good way. Avi, thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think that if they released it any later, then they'd have to release their next DLC sooner, So I think that's something they probably thought about. So I think November's a good time. So they got December to plan out the next one, and then they could release that in February. So
Right. They did have the next, what did they say? The next two DLC planned after Orsinium, which is Thieves Guild and Dark Brotherhood, coming in Q1 and Q2 of 2016, respectively. So those are exciting. But this is, I know they've been working on Orsinium for a while, so after we see Dark Brotherhood and Thieves Guild, that'll probably give us an idea what their next DLCs will be like. In terms of size, every quarter they said they're releasing DLC, and I think we'll start seeing more relative size when we start getting to those as we get further out, because we know Orsinium has been planned for a while, and same with Imperial.
And it's big, just like the Imperial City, so it makes me excited to see how big the Dark Brotherhood and the Thieves Guild might be, or if they might be even small. They might be smaller. Who knows?
I'm imagining they're going to be smaller.
Yeah,
but it's still interesting to see. Eldian.
Yeah, I was quite surprised that November was early November was their date. But as you said, they have been working on it a long time, so they must have had most of it finished. So they said quarterly is an estimate. So I guess sometimes it might be a bit sooner, sometimes a bit later. They're not really hard and fast with the 3-month sort of plan. So this one's coming our benefit. I'm sure one down the line will end up being 4 months, and we can all complain about how it's outrageous they've been delayed by 4 weeks. But that's the way. That's the way of development.
Right. I know they released a trailer. The trailer looked pretty neat. Did you guys get to see the trailer?
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Female giants. I know we've seen those since QuakeCon. The female giant was that, and they spent a lot of time highlighting their next big thing, which was the Maelstrom Arena. Now, before we get into that, remember, I think it was 2 weeks ago we were talking about how it would be awesome if they went back and updated some of the rewards. Well, I actually sent a tweet out to the ESO Twitter and actually got a response. So it was very nice of them to respond. And they are not actually going back in DSA to like up the rewards to VR16, which is disappointing. But hopefully in the future, or when they remove veteran ranks, maybe then those master weapons won't be obsolete. Because I thought it would be kind of neat how if you've already seen some of the data mined weapons that are out, they're affecting the second item or the second skill in weapon lines. Of like for the great sword, it's critical rush. It affects that now. It'd be kind of neat if they were all the same veteran rank or same power level. That way you could customize your build. You know, like if I don't know if I don't even use critical rush on my builds. It's because it doesn't do enough damage on PvP player. I mean, it's a nice gap closer, but for me, it's just easy to switch to my ranged weapon until I close the distance. No real need. Gap close. Unfortunately, the master weapons are going to go Dodo and not. Still nice to get an.
Yeah, it was good. I am actually. It's probably the most thing I'm most disappointed about, to be honest. Not that I want to start on a negative, but I'm really gutted that they didn't push those up to V16. As you say, you'd have had top-end weapons for the first skill, top-end weapons for the second. More importantly, you'd have actually had you'd have a reason for groups again to do something tight. Because that long DSA last, people were using that for months, farming it for their leaderboards. Well, this new arena's coming out, and it's awesome. Solo arena. People are going to be spending a lot of time in there doing their leaderboard chasing. It would be nice to have something for groups to still do, because weirdly enough, this game's 18 months or so old, and it's probably the only MMO I know of that doesn't have group end game content anymore.
Yeah, because trials are not
all old.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was nothing at all, and I thought, well, the DSA would have been nice, sort of not easy as such, but you boost that to VR16, you fix the problem where you can kill everything before it spawns, and you've got a whole fun group arena for people to go in there and spend all their time on if they're not soloing. Would have been an easy win, I'd have thought, for a lot of months of content for essentially doing nothing more than a slight revamp.
Right. I'm hoping that they'll listen and go back, because I'm all about new content. New content's great and all of that. Get me wrong here. I hate to see content like that go the way of the dodo, because that was really fun content. Like it was really, really fun. And I know as of right now they don't really have the season gear yet. I know they talked about season gear, but I'm not really sure where we are with season gear. Which I can't wait for season gear, because then it'll really give us an idea of a gear grind. But how gearing is in this game right now, the way this game is, it's not so much this item is the latest season or latest tier, and now therefore it is the best. It's this item is highest level. Who cares? Mix and match to get the type of build you want. And since that's kind of how we're playing now, it just would have been really neat to see them adjust the master weapons to be a little bit more to that style. Maybe they will still do.
I mean, like I hate cleave for the great sword because it's a crappy AoE, but it's the only AoE you get for the two-handed weapon. So the original master sword at VR16 with this 6 extra damage that cleave does is pretty awesome. Whereas, as you say, for critical rush as a PvEer, pretty useless. I know for PvPers they'll be all over that sword like there's no tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Because crit rush is the prime skill for a PvPer. So great for them, but the old sword, if it was VR16, would have been more useful for PvEers.
I completely agree. Avi, what are your thoughts on that? And I should say before we move on, as they said, they have no plans to do it yet, but I expect to see some pretty heavy revamping of a lot of things, especially when they remove veteran rank. So I imagine Vet DSA will become relevant again. I'm guessing when they remove veteran ranks. It's just for right now it's not, and they have no plan.
Well, hopefully we get some kind of a group endgame content with the Dark Brotherhood or the Thieves Guild, because if not, then we're looking at an expand of 9 months with no endgame group content, which is kind of a scary thing to think of.
Well, you know what? It's like you plan that or something, because do you know what they confirmed? That a new trial is coming in Q1 with the. I'm
Oh,
gathering that it was the way we thought was that it was going to be with Orsinium, but it's actually going to be. I think they maybe ran out of time. I'm guessing that's probably closer to what exactly happened than the other way around.
and I think for how Orsinium is, it'd be kind of weird for there to be
Yeah,
a big old trial right inside that zone. It wouldn't really fit.
Oh,
it,
that's my.
it would have been slightly odd.
Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. Now, the next thing I have on here is the Orsinium map. I know, Avi, you've been playing around in Orsinium. I don't know, Asteldian, have you actually got a chance to download on the PS?
I have the PTS downloaded, but no, I have not been on PTS.
Okay. Well then, Avi, this is all you, sir. Can you kind of give us an idea of the size of the
It's
Orsinium?
Well, I've only explored one half, and that was the more Skyrim style snowy half, and it is amazing. I mean, the scale is big. I think I even messaged you guys once, and I was like, "Oh man, it feels like I'm in Skyrim." I'm like, I'm really loving the scale of this. I didn't do any of the quests. I'm ignoring all of that. Just walking around and experiencing everything, looking at all the new monsters and stuff they put in,
Mhm.
which I can't think of off the top of my head, and the Maelstrom Arena, which I've attempted, which is really fun but really difficult. So it's nice to see a single player challenge in the game.
Oh, I'm super excited for Maelstrom. Like crazy excited for the. That's just going to be amazing. But in terms of longevity of the game, not really being negative, just kind of sad and disappointed about it, is that they aren't messing with ESA. It would have been nice to have both, but again, maybe that'll change. But for the meantime, the single one. Uh,
And I'm
comp-
surprised it's only single player too. Like you can't even bring one friend in. It's just pure single. So it's an interesting way of going about it.
it is a little different from almost. I guess most of their delves and stuff and are designed for like one or two players. You could even technically do most public dungeons with even if you're
Yeah.
now I'm not saying highly skilled people can do it by themselves or if they I know quite a few people can, but even if you're only a mediocre player, most things only require one or
Yeah.
two. Compared to the other zones, I'm curious if you think it's larger, same size.
I can't say as in like how long it is, but the scale looks a lot more bigger. Everything seems bigger, but I haven't explored enough to say. The map size looks big. It almost looks like Craglorn size, and I'm hoping that's how it feels too.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Now we actually had 2 weeks that we weren't here, and they actually had two ESO lives. One of them was to announce Orsinium on 10.5, and they had another one on 10.15. There wasn't a whole lot about the one on the 15th, except for one thing in particular I wanted to mention was that they confirmed that shield dying is indeed a thing and will be coming with Orsinium.
Yes, thank God. Is it sad? That's probably the most exciting thing of Orsinium for me, that I can dye my
It
shield.
is for a lot of people, actually.
I'm not surprised. I know. I was talking to a Varwin. If you guys know him, he is the sword and board paladin. So when they're like, you can dye your shield, I practically heard him from where I lived screaming, "Yes!"
Yeah. Well, I feel his pain. I'm white and gold, and I have a black shield. It's like or purple one. It's like this is just
Yeah, my shield's
completely
purple.
ruining my outfit.
uh, Completely ruining my outfit. You guys know this is all about fashion.
I had to retire from tanking until they get the shield dyes in. It's like, no, I'm not doing it anymore.
I cannot look terrible while killing this stuff. Get back to me when you're done.
It's one step away from forcing me to show my helmet at all times.
Oh man.
There was a game. What was the game? I was trying to remember what it was. And this is off topic, but still really, really funny since you brought it up. It was a game that was talking about forcing players to show helmet. They were like, or were asking like, can I hide my helmet? They're like, no. If you hide your helmet, it's like you don't have any helmet on at all.
Yeah, for
Yeah, I
immersion
have issues with
purposes,
that.
it's like,
It's like I'm all for it, but if you want to do that, you make a goddamn effort to make a decent helmet. Something that MMO games have failed over the decade. They always have stupid helmets, weird horns, or one of them was a big schlong horn on the middle of the helmet. It's just a big penis sticking out. It's like, why is that on my helmet? One horn, for God's sake. Who
Oh,
designed this?
somebody with something else on the mind apparently. So
I mean, the Breton helmet in ESO is probably the best looking helmet I've seen in an online game. The high
I
end Breton one.
I really like the high end Imperial, but I like that full face mask. That whole I have a
Yeah, I don't like its style, but it is a decent looking helmet. So yeah, you're right. The Imperial one's done well as well because you've got the whole toilet brush on the top, and
I think that's the only part that I dislike the most.
but it looks like a proper helmet at least. But that one, the Breton one, looked decent. I really like those helmets.
Yeah, there we go. Um, on 10.5 during their ESO Live, they did make a chat about Maelstrom Arena and its leaderboards. And one of the things that they're doing with the leaderboards is that they are all now class specific leaderboards. That's pretty exciting to me, only for the fact that I play Templar and I love my Templar death, but I know he doesn't have near the tanking capability of Dragon Knight. But then again, there's some other people say the same thing about, the Templar, you just can't kill them. So I'm liking the fact that they're comparing leaderboards to people of the same class. That way it's more of a fair comparison, so people aren't going, well, crud, now I have to roll the flavor of the month class or else I'm not going.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Very
yeah,
good idea because that's one advantage this game's got is between their PvP kind of trying to stay as quite big scale, even with IC, keeping away from the arenas, and by having this for the solo arena, having your class separation. There's a reason they're doing it is because you don't have to worry so much about class balance when you're not worried about one-on-ones, 4v4s in like an arena style, or obviously the solo arena where suddenly people, well, it's impossible for us to compete with DKs or whoever it is. So you just got an endless balancing thing to try and make sure every class is exactly equal. This game kind of gets away with the fact you use a form of balance, but it's not as rigid as you get from games with arenas for PvP and other small scale kind of fighting.
I just thought that was super exciting. Now I have to pull up my other list here there were some quick notes about Orsinium from 10.5. Rothgar has over 20 points of interest in it. Pretty interesting. I actually have to look for 20. Trying to think if that's actually comparable to its own.
I was gonna say, is that a lot?
Don't-
That doesn't sound too impressive to me, but I can't think of how many is on a regular zone.
Well, that's why you
I,
guys are going to talk back and forth while I count.
Well,
I
I'm
was gonna
I'm
say,
pretty sure I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around 20. I mean, I think I visit at least 20 places in each zone, so but they said it was supposed to be
Yeah,
bigger
see,
and more.
now that's where I'm kind of interested where they say points of interest because
yeah,
I'm only about a third of the way through Deshaun and I've already counted 20. So
Okay,
that
see.
doesn't seem very impressive. So I guess it's what their idea of point of interest is. Is that
an
is
eyeball as far as I'm concerned. That's a point of interest to
Well,
me.
that's an area of interest.
No, it's a
yeah.
point of
I think there's a
interest.
difference. Oh, really? Hmm.
I don't know if there's a difference either because most of those eyeballs really don't I guess they don't have a lot in terms of
Quests. They're just
Well, if there's 20 of those, then yeah, that's a lot.
yeah, if they're just normally interesting things to look at. They're not necessarily sometimes you have quests that lead to them, but other times they're just something interesting that's um so that'd be kind of so I'm kind of confused by that. Anyway, it has the most content to date in an area like Glenumbra or Oridon. So standard leveling zone, it's said to be larger than. Lots of voiceover work. Also, the most they've done for any zone, any single zone. Bear mounts, bear pets, bear hats.
A whole lot of bear.
A lot of bear. We can barely bear it.
It's unbearable.
It is unbearable. Kurog is a member of the Daggerfall Covenant. Well, right now I think I'm kind of outnumbered because I'm the only solely guy here. Avi
Hey, I've leveled 3 VR EPs since I've made the change, so I'm pretty dedicated.
That just makes you a faction whore.
I was gonna say
that's how you dedicate anywhere.
You're not a red, you're not a blue, you're a purple. That's what you are.
I'm like a solo assassin, you know. If the money's high enough, then yeah, I'll go over to 80. Mercenary, yeah.
We still
You're
have the
war
coolest
camps
song.
made. That's what you are.
You know what they say though. There was that joke about the man in the Civil War. This American Civil. Uh, the guy who's like, I don't want to join the North or the South, so he wore a blue top and a gray bottom. So the side shot him. Okay. Back to this. Full set of new architecture, art, etc. These northern orcs are the best crafters in Tamriel. I have seen a lot of the architecture. Arboreal forest in the south of the zone, plains in the center, and cold Skyrimish area.
Oh yeah.
There's a huge museum of orcish heritage that you can now populate with.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I walked in there. It's just a bunch of empty pedestals, and you got to go out, and if you find a certain thing during a quest, you can bring it back there, put it on the pedestal, and I think you get it's like achieving a quest or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I know there's supposed to be, and it's probably gonna be saying in here. Actually, yeah, you rebuild Orsinium per character. It is rebuilt as you discover new areas and do quests. So it's just like a phasing type thing. So if you have a new character who walks in, Orsinium will be pretty much destroyed. Like there's just not gonna be anything to it. But then as you do the quest and find maybe those relics and things like that, it'll probably start, more buildings will open up, which is really neat. I'm excited about it. Now that it kind of scares me now. I know they said the phasing is going to be better, but that kind of thing scares me. I'm not sure how that's going to. This is something that really excites me no matter what, because this zone is level agnostic, which I'm really happy about in terms of a solo zone that you should go into it at any level. Is that crafting nodes in Orsinium will scale to your level. This includes the mats found in Imperial City. So you can harvest things like Ancestor Silk.
That's to your crafting level, I believe, right?
Level.
Yeah.
I'm imagining it's crafting level.
Yeah, because I went in there with my Templar and I was picking up iron ore, thinking, "What's going on?" So
it's crafting level. So for me, that's going to be wonderful. Finally, going to have to not deal with breaking new kinds of monsters. Oh, go ahead.
I heard it's not guaranteed that you get the high end stuff. Even if you've got 10 points in, you might still end up getting Void Steel. So.
Well, even with a chance, I would rather farm there than in.
Yeah, it's definitely an improvement, but just keep in mind that you go in there with your 10 out of 10 points, and basically, as a crafter of blacksmithing or something, you're gonna understand the pain enchanters have when you go to a nice node and find a tar root. You'll do the same and get Void Steel.
No Void Steel, no Void Steel, no Void Steel. Crap. Yeah, that will definitely be a thing. That will definitely be. Oh well. All right. I don't care. Still sounds better.
Hold on. Sorry, I was going to say, more importantly, presumably killing monsters there for your VR15 also means you can get the loot to be able to break down. So you should be able to break down to get the materials without having to go to Imperial City either. So they should become much more common.
Yes. Yeah.
That alone.
The prices should drop pretty. So make your money now. Right now, I think most things are going for like or 500 gold apiece.
Yeah.
New kinds of monsters, including nastier goblins, snow ogres, snow durzogs, pocket mammoth. A lot of new item sets for crafting. 2 new public dungeons that are way, way bigger than previous dungeons, but not quite as big as Imperial City Sewers. Imperial City Sewers is massive, so Old Orsinium and Rekindlelift is what I'm calling it. And I think actually they
That's
had,
right.
yeah,
I think so.
they had Lawrence Schick on the show, and he said Rekindlelift. So I'm like, yes. The one time I pronounce a word right, it's a dwarven root. So yeah, nice. Phasing should be a better experience. I hope. Wait to see. Someone actually once asked me. This was very early on, and they were asking me. I like to play with my significant, but we don't have a lot of time to play. How's the experience? I'm like, I honestly told them this was very early. This was actually in beta when I was still betaing it. And when it comes out, we're thinking of getting it. I'm like, to be honest, unless you play there's a reason why my character right now still hasn't done the gold, because I like to play with my wife and she hasn't been able. So my character has not even all of silver yet because he still has quest in Glen Umbra, in Bangor, or in not Glen Bangorai, Rendezvous at the Pass, and We Live in Fear. That's where I'm stuck in those quests because I wait for her, and when she gets here, then I'll play through them. But it's not like I could even play through them in a lot of cases because certain quests, everything changes so much that if I were to go and try it, that I wouldn't be able to help her. I would just phase out at times. So I couldn't recommend it. So I'm really hoping that they take a step in the right direction, because it really does kind of suck, because if you go back and help a friend, you can't because of the phasing. You guys can stop me anytime. I'm just going to keep going down this list because there is a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because I took a bunch of notes. So if you hear anything interesting, please just shout it out. Increase the amount of experience you get from public dungeons. They did that in Imperial City. They're doing that yet again.
Good, 'cause it's still crap.
It would be nice if they were better and actually were a nice way of getting experience to play with friends, going, hey, let's get you a few levels. Let's go in and just farm a public dungeon. New motif, Ancient Orcs. You get the pages in the 2 new public dungeons, so that you'll see a lot of people in there farming if that's the only drop. Half are in one dungeon, half are in the other.
That's something.
Yeah, give you a reason to go in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. With experience boost as well, maybe it'll actually be worthwhile, A, going in there to kill, and then B, actually finding stuff to use. So a good idea. Definitely a better way of farming than the glass, that's for sure.
Yeah. And to be honest, I prefer that. The glass one, see, I don't mind the glass are there the way they did. It's fine. I just wish it was fragments and it was a then just be like, oh, I got this. That wouldn't, I think it would be a little better than it's just because the fragments made it a little too grindy. And then on top of that, adding it into the crown store so early kind of took a lot of drive away, but you shouldn't be seeing that. So that's always exciting.
It's not just that. It's just, the dailies, it wasn't very MMO-y, if you get what I mean. You sort of did your daily, the craft, did I get a page or not, Whereas going in dungeon delving to try and find these pages like you did with the Dreamer, or in this case, going to the pub dungeon and fighting orcs to get it, it feels that's what it's supposed to be, an adventure. There should be an adventure involved with getting this stuff.
I know, I completely agree. And I really do like that because, yeah, you're right. And you're not time gated by the way the glass was with you can only do it when you have X amount of quests. This is like, hey, I got all day and this is all I want to do. Have fun, right?
Yeah.
I'm very excited about it.
So credit to Zos there for going with a better version rather than sticking with the glass style from here on out.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This was I'm excited for this one because this is something that I will go out and do, because who doesn't love diving into a dungeon? My goodness, we're the dungeon crawler network.
Even I might do this one, because Dreamer, I couldn't be bothered to run around opening pots and pans to try and find pages, but slaughtering a load of orcs till I find hell yeah, that's just right up my alley. I can do that all day long.
look who's gonna have like a huge market from this just because I got like 900 pages for people.
Yeah, it could be the first time I've ever like farmed for regions. Like, yeah, look at me.
To get to Orsinium, when you get to any major town, an orc will run up to you with an invitation, kind of like older Elder Scrolls games. Gotta love, gotta love that. All I can think of is the guy who goes, "I have a message. Your eyes only.
I've been looking for you.
I've been looking for you. I have a message." I really hope that's what the orc says. I will get a kick out of that if it.
I don't think
I
so.
would hope they would as like an East. I would just.
That'd be funny if they had the same looking random Breton guy run up to you like, what the heck? You ran all the way from Skyrim.
You must. It. All right. Get to Orsinium. When you go to any, yeah, I already said. But I wonder if they're gonna make us go through that pass because you remember. I got it's in Stormhaven, Firebrand Keep. There is a bunch of quests there for the Knights of the Flame, but that's the way to Orsinium. That's the way that leads into Orsinium. So I'm really excited to see if that's how we can get in from the world. You know, like I don't care if they port us or they put us in a cart like Craglorn. Actually, I kind of do. I
Well, that's
hated that
that's
fact.
that's what it's like. You walk up to a cart and they say, "Are you ready to travel?"
Oh, it really? There's no other way.
No,
There
no,
should be
no.
a travel. There
I'm
should be a
not
travel
saying there's
montage.
I'm not saying there's no other way. I'm just saying that's kind of how they led you to do it in the PTS.
Okay. Because there's two areas that I really see, and you know it's really sad. I've never tried to go through them, but there's two areas in Craglorn that are gates. One would lead what looks like would be close to the rift. I really wish that would have been accessible, and an area called Bangkorai Gate would be great if that actually led into Bangkorai because like I feel like there should be to make the world feel like it's not just zones. There should be a way you can walk. Like you know, I don't care if they have a cart that takes you there. It's fine. They did it in Skyrim too. But I would like the option of going, oh look, here's the zone border, and I can just jump into it. I
You
don't know
you can't
why,
enter the Bankerai Gate.
dude. See, I don't know because the bank. I don't. I've never actually tried.
I can't remember because I remember going there and I I don't feel like I was even able to click E on it. But I don't remember. But I was a lobby, so I wouldn't have been able to enter anyways.
I don't think you can.
Yeah, well, see, I know if you're under a certain level, you can't, but it would be really great because I know exactly where that area is. I'm looking at it on the map. It's near the old tower waypoint. There's a road that leads right out that would lead into Craglorn, and it'd be just really great if you could just go through. I know it's kind of silly, and people are like, "Why would you want to waste resources on it?" I don't know. I just like the idea of making the world feel like it's connected. Right?
Yeah, I agree,
Yeah.
and especially when you think that Upper Craglorn was kind of very orc centric,
Mm-hmm.
if you remember. So it
Yep.
kind of fed into the orc. So then from Upper Craglorn, if you had a way to go to the east or whatever and appear quite near the rift, I would say that big landmass between the rift and here or whatever, or wherever it's supposed to be. I don't know the Tamriel map in terms of where it's supposed to be, but that sort of idea. You've got orcs in Upper Craglorn. There's a gate that goes and leads into the next area, which is Orsinium.
Right. It's my. There's my notes. Sweet. Um, a lot of new armor sets, and expect new armor sets in every DLC, which is exciting. One of them is Wall of Julianos, which is essentially is a spell damage version of Hunding's Rage. That should
Nice.
Yeah, not a fan of that.
No.
Well, I think Hundix is kind of a bit of a problem as it is because everyone uses that for stamina.
Mm-hmm.
It's currently Scathing Mage is the new hit um, for everyone as Magica, but that's crit, and then whenever you do a crit, you get so many seconds of a spell power boost. Well, this crafted set is just going to be crit, and you always get a very large spell power boost, even larger than Cagnonac's Hope, I assume. I'm not double checked on the exact numbers, but I'm guessing so. So doesn't that it's like, oh well, we've got new stuff coming out every DLC? Well, yeah, but we've already found that between Imperium City and probably even Orsinium, every stamina guy's still going to keep hold of his Hundigs, and now what? Every Magicka guy's going to keep hold of their 5-set Juliana. So in terms of what's left to actually make a set of, you've got what, 4 pieces, 3 to 4, depending on if you're using dual wield or if you've got a staff, especially with jewelry currently being used with the willpower and agility sets, kind of cutting that out so you can't have 2 5-step bonus in most cases. So I'm not sure I'm a huge fan. I'd like to try to move away from the hunting style and go for more interesting things. But I'll make it and wear it.
Yeah.
I'll play it, but I'll wear it 'cause it's going to be good.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Like that is true. Hundings is the go-to set if you're, well, pretty much anything really. Like that's just go-to, if just that good.
Yep.
Part of the thinking behind adding new sets is to fill the gaps that emerge and are noticed in people's play styles. Again, I'm not really too worried about a lot of this. Like, I like how they're planning on doing this, that all gear. Like, I would really love it if all gear was relevant in some extent, and then they just updated it. Especially when they do the seasons, I want to see season gear for everything. Like, if I'm wearing, like right now, I'm wearing, because I just redid my build. I'm wearing 4 Magnus set and 4 Eyes of Mara. And then the willpower. I would really love it if, when the next season comes out, that I can essentially make the same gear I have now if I don't want to change my playstyle or a new set really doesn't interest me. Sort of like the Maelstrom Grey Swords. Is it's neat, but it doesn't interest me because I don't ever use Crit Rush. It's just never in any of my builds. So it's kind of like, well, why would I use it? Unless there's something really good about it that I haven't seen, there's really not a point for me actually using it. But to be able to go, okay, well now what I have to do is I have to go out and get better gear. And I hope when they release season stuff, one of the things that would really exhaust, here's a suggestion for you. Those dungeon tokens we were talking about would be a great way of implementing them. Because when you remove veteran ranks, you're going to have all the same, probably the same medals. That's great. Keep the same medals. But make people buy an item with dungeon tokens that allows you to combine it with your other stuff to upgrade the season. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, the idea of seasonal gear is to sort of make it outdated, isn't it? So you can move on to the next set. So it's kind of designed to become obsolete, essentially.
Right. Well, yeah, gear is meant to be obsolete, but how you're going to adjust crafting? That's what I'm really curious, because crafting will always be there, and they want crafting to be a viable way of filling in the spots. How are you going to make your 5 Hundings and make it the next tier up without adding more metal? Unless that's what they do, and they just keep adding metal.
Yeah, that's very true. But because I kind of imagine seasonal gear, the last season will be what starts turning up on the Crown store. So I'd imagine they start selling old season gears. I know it's a scary prospect, but that's what I'd imagine would start happening. So if you made ways of seasonal gear being able to be updated to relevant gear now, that'd be a whole host of problems there. But you're right about crafted. That kind of makes it tricky, doesn't it?
Yeah, crafted is the what are we going to do kind of thing.
But, well, I suppose other games have done it, hasn't it? I mean, I remember in Rift where crafting was basically crafted gear made your gear good enough to start doing the hard dungeons, or the dungeons, and then the dungeons you got gear good enough to do the harder version of the dungeons, which then give you the gear good enough to do the trials. I'm sure crafters won't be happy with the idea of their gear simply being entry-level stuff, but that's one way of seasonal gear working. And then they did actually eventually make it so crafters with some hard materials from raids, for example, you could actually use it to make some very good items which were very raid equivalent, just not quite. So there'd be unique sets you could make, perhaps. But you're right, it kind of goes against the idea that you've already got the Hundix raid set. It's going to suddenly stop being made forever, and a new set comes along. It's the elephant in the room, the history of crafting.
Yeah. Okay. Avi, what about you?
I'm sorry, I'm a little lost here.
Do you feel like, and this was something I said about adding dungeon tokens, the ability to buy items that would allow you to upgrade to the nearest or the next tier with crafted. So when they remove veteran ranks, you'll be able to make your, veteran rank whatever, but instead of adding new medals, just add a item that you can buy from a vendor from doing dungeons and stuff, and you turn in 100 tokens, you can buy one item.
Yeah, I
And
think it's a great idea.
and they can
I'm all
remove
about that.
the old ones. They can just add a new one in. Like season
Oh yeah,
one, they would add one, and then when the next season's out, they just remove the season one, and it's only season two. That way, people aren't accidentally buying season one going, oh, crud. They just buy season two, and season one fades into the dust. Just
yeah,
a
it's a great idea. Yeah.
idea. Maelstrom Arena, like Dragonstar, but for one character, has Maelstrom armor weapon drops at the end in the vet version. Like the master stuff, they modify skill abilities, but for a second skill. Talked about. Increasing the drop rate on new armor sets on normal should be 30%. It's now 10%, for example, in city dungeons.
Can I just say I feel really sorry for the destruction staff guys for the second skill is that really crappy elemental wall, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Useless pile of crap in the game. It's like, great, we've got a master version for it. Good, make it good. Nope, it's still shit.
There are 9 levels to Maelstrom Arena to go through, and in vet you will save your points. So when you die off, that's it. I don't know if you have amount of lives or if it's one death.
No, you die and I think you can even leave the arena and come back. I'm not too positive. My little journal still says complete the 6th part of the arena, and I'm in Stonefall, so
Okay, all right. So it's
yeah.
like a quest you get, like a daily quest.
Yeah, kind of like that. You walk up to the door and it's a quest, and she sends you in, and
Okay, that makes complete sense. That's actually really cool that you can then complete it when you have time for normal at the very least. So
yeah.
very, very cool. All right, that was my notes from the ESO Live. Mess around here with my iPad document. It's not the. Let's talk a little bit. Actually, before I move on, I have a note here that I should have made earlier. Public service announcement for people who are part of the console community. For those who did not receive their crowns, we actually got a message from Zos asking us to give a little PSA for people. So if you're on console and you signed up for ESO Plus and you haven't gotten your crowns, it's an issue between the billing system of Zos and the Sony Microsoft that they're trying to work on. But it obviously is very complicated having to deal with 2 different billing systems that were not designed to work together. So I'm sure there's a lot of going back and forth. I know how it is in my job when I work with vendors. Oh, it's not our fault. It's got to be on your side. It's not on our side. It's on yours. There's a lot of that in the IT. So they are working on that to get that resolved. But if anyone does not have their crowns, you can simply put in a ticket saying, hey, I am this. I did not get my crowns. And their GMs can actually get back to you and manually add the crown. You don't have to sit there and wait going, oh, they lost this or this. You can actually contact and you can get your crowns within 1 or 2 days, whatever the standard business time is. Because their customer service staff hasn't been instructed to do this workaround until they can resolve the issue between their billing systems. So definitely if you have been expecting crowns and have not gotten them, put in a ticket. They'll check your billing history and reward you. Fear not. Catch-up mechanic has been added for the... trying to open it up. Catch-up mechanic has been added into... I'm pretty excited about this.
Yeah, that's good.
Not as excited about the cap. The cap is 501. Now, I'm not anywhere near that. I'm only 149. I've tried it. So I'm not very far up. However, they're kind of doing 2 things, which is kind of neat. They actually came through, told us about the champion system that they are going to be adding these point modifiers, and I wish I could find it because someone had actually broken down everything. But essentially, what will be happening is if you have no champion points when the season comes out, it's, if I remember correctly, it's like 300 experience for like the first point. So you're very likely going to be getting champion points like very, very quick. Now it goes up exponentially for each point. After you've reached, I guess, what they consider to be the average, it starts going up and above. And I think by the time you reach 500, it's like 4 million point experience points or something like that. So like you can continue to grind, but they've added a type of tiering system that after you've hit a certain point, it's just more expensive to go further. So good in that it allows people to catch up. I'm very excited about that. But I'm still not too big on the locking, but I guess it is. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I've got the sheet, by the way, you're talking about.
Oh, you do? Good. Could you give us some examples? Like, let's just say no champion points to 10 to 100 to 300.
Yeah, so actually after the patch, it'll be about 33,000 for the first point, apparently. Is that right? I don't think that is. That's wrong. That is. Let's see.
Because right now it's what, about 100,000?
It's 400,000, though, isn't it? It's regardless of whether you need 1 point or.
Oh yeah, it's
It's
400,000.
400,000 at once. So it's going to be 33,000 from that. So just taking this into account, for example, you would need, once you have 337 points, you've just hit the part where it's 400,000 per point. So if you haven't got 337, you've done what your quid's in here. You're benefiting. So, and then if you're on 338 or beyond, you're not really going to notice any difference because it's 400,000 beyond 338. Judging by this, if you go over the cap, it gets ridiculous, I believe.
Makes sense.
Something like that. I don't know if this spreadsheet's right. This is the spreadsheet I was.
Is it the one from Dominoid?
It was actually Cogumush. Dominoid mentioned it, and I think, on an alternate sheet. Let's see. This has got it. Yeah, no, it looks like the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's pretty much bang on. So I'm all right. I'm a 220 odd myself. So
I'm at about 280 now. So getting close to 300.
Yeah, I'm the only one who has not that much.
Yeah, and I haven't been playing that much. So
I'm always on a scroll, so those help a lot.
I don't use scrolls.
I get champion points like candy. I swear.
Well, if you would, because you play alts. I mean,
Yeah.
actually, the whole reason I've probably got as many as I've got actually is probably because of my ult. When I've been questing with the wife and just going through, because I've always had the enlightenment on as well, because I'm not on constantly, so I've always got the multiplier going. So I game on through and get loads when I'm on my ult. In fact, I think my main character has about 40 champ points to spend because I've been playing on the ult and it's just gone flying up.
Oh.
But I'm not a fan of the cap, to be honest. I know why it's in. It does make sense, especially if you're going to have a solo arena leaderboard. And to be honest, with them putting the cap in, it's why I actually thought it was a bit of a shame that they weren't revamping the DSA as well. Because, as I say, stop the portal killing, and with a cap of points, I think groups could spend a lot of time, just like the old days, having a lot of fun with the leaderboard. So I think with the cap, those things would be a lot more fun for the competitive players. For me, I think it's, like I said on the, when we were on the show with OTR, I would have preferred they corrected the diminishing returns to make that work proper, especially with the change in champ points, the speed at which you get them. You know, if you've got a proper decent boost from the first 20 points you put in on a star and how quickly you gained it for the first 100 or 200 points, the difference between someone having 500 plus and you being on 200 wouldn't be nearly as significant as it is now. If 20 points gave you 15% of the boost, then that'd be a massive cap before then going down to the 50 points, getting you 20%, and 100 points, getting you the 25%. That's what I call diminishing returns. That's where you see a big gap. Whereas at the moment, it's quite literally you get to 10 points, and then it's 0.1 or 0.2% from 10 points all the way up to 100. It's like, well, this is a really naff diminishing returns you've put in here. It doesn't work at all. You've just crucified you very quickly.
Right.
And that's what's caused a lot of the problems. Whereas if they'd done that correctly, I think that and a catch-up mechanic would have been sufficient, except for the very extreme ends for the guys running around with, I don't know, 1,500 points or however much they've grinded themselves to at this point.
It was one of the ESO lives they actually talked about this, and it's actually remarkable, and I'm glad they actually said these things. Was they talked about the amount of champion points that people have and how few of them are up in that range. Like less than 2% of the populace is above like 500. Like less than 12 players have more than 1,000.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. It just is the true hardcore guys with their 1,000 odd.
Oh yeah, guys who can play all day, who sit there and grind all. Yeah, that makes complete sense.
The problem is, especially in PvP land, that guy clearly plays a lot, and therefore, if you're playing PvP, you bump into him all the time. So it feels like everyone you're meeting has got 1,000 points, just the same bugger running round and around, killing you all because he's got so many points.
I think that's a lot how I felt in very, very early on in the game. One of our first group events we did for DCN in Tales of Tamriel was we did Cyrodiil. And this was prior to Lobby Cyrodiil. So we all went in there. We were all sub VR at that point 10. And there was one VR 10. It was the same vampire, Dragon Knight type character, Dunmer Dragon Knight vampire, who killed us. Like, we had a group of like 20 people. Person just wiped all of us. Because they just came in standard bat swarm and that, whatever the case it was. Still remember
the full ultimate bat swarm or whatever the ridiculous cheat was that you could just stack all your ultimate reduction and it cost you nothing for a swarm, and your actual swarm itself gave you back enough ultimate to re-swarm straight afterwards.
Yep. Exactly, and that was just yeah, and they just kept killing us. We were like, okay, forget this, let's go somewhere else. We went to a different place and they showed up again. It's just like, okay, that's it, we're done. You know what I mean?
Like you couldn't tell because there's probably about 150 different DKs running around as vampire Dunmers anyway. So 90% of the population back then was doing that.
Oh, I remember. It's Taylor Swift. That was their character.
I
hate you, Taylor Swift. He's probably gonna hear this somehow and sue me.
So I should shake it off.
Maybe it's her. I don't know. All right, enough Taylor Swift. That was the news for this week, guys, or the past 2 weeks. A lot of interesting stuff. Let's go ahead.
Hold on. We have one more thing here.
Oh, we do?
Yes, the Orsinium DLC collector's bundle. Did you want to bring that up at all? I was a little confused on why they have 5 crown XP scrolls added in their collector's bundle. Is there something I'm missing here, or?
I think the difference is, for those who don't know, when Orsinium comes out, Orsinium is going to cost 3,000 crowns, so $30. We were talking about this on DCN. Let's talk about that first. You guys feel that's a fair price, $30 for this?
Yeah, I think that's a decent price.
Okay.
We're getting a whole end game for solo content and nice big zone. Yeah, so who can complain?
I can. Actually, that's not true. I don't complain. I think it is overpriced, but I did listen to your DCN podcast, obviously. But I'm happy for it to be overpriced, and I actually think that's the way to go, to be honest, because ESO has been very generous in that the ESO Plus doesn't give you much over not subscribing, and that's kind of hard to have a benefit. But that's because they haven't penalized you by not being subbed, like games that SOTOR just screw you over big time by not being subbed, and other games do the same, whereas ESO is like, well, you play the game completely fine and normal without the sub. If you have the sub, nothing really changes. It's just you're generously giving money to ESO, really. I know it's 10%, whatever. But you get the DLCs for free. So how do you incentivize it? Well, you kind of overcharge for the DLCs, and I know Krabby was it Krabby didn't know Brody
Broden.
he didn't like that, but I think it's a fine way to go. So if you said the future DLCs were all $30, there's 4 in a year. That's $120 you'd spend on DLCs. So
That's less than subbing for the entire
a sub
time.
would be $180. However, so for the extra $60, you also get yourself $180 worth of crowns and
Yeah.
all the DLCs, of course. So you're paying more for the sub, but you are also getting a load of crowns if that sort of thing interests you.
Hey, I
So
bought
I think it's good
the
to
Battle
charge
Mage stuff. It was worth it for me. I love
Yeah.
the Battle Mage costume.
Yeah, they're
exactly.
awesome.
So I think it's a bit pricey, but it's not outrageously pricey.
No.
But it is a bit expensive. But I've got no problem with that because I know Broden kept saying, well, Final Fantasy, you sub to and you get all the access, and this is essentially a patch. You shouldn't pay. It's like, well, yeah, but you're not sub to this game. You
Yeah.
you can choose not to sub and save yourself $60 a year by buying the DLCs whilst not being subbed, or you can sub and then not have to buy the DLCs and
have
get
a
load
little
of
bit of-
crowns, but you pay a bit more. So, 30 is a bit expensive. I think you're looking anywhere between $20 and $30 per DLC is what you're going to expect. I think you'd be lucky to see it at 20 unless it's a small one. I think Imperial City was 25. That's probably
25.
I think that's probably the cheapest you're going to get. But 25 to 30 is pricey, but not extortionate. It's no $30 horse type thing. So
Still
I-
cheaper than Frostmire.
yeah, so it's within the realms of reasonability, and it does
Sure.
help people saying why not go for the sub. And in an ideal world, I'm sure the devs would love it if everyone said, "Oh, the DLC is too expensive. I may as well just sub." Because in an ideal world, they'd love everyone to be sub. The only reason why they're not doing a sub-only game is because the business knows that buy-to-play and free-to-play gives you more money. But they'd much rather have everyone turn around and sub. So it's a sneaky way of incentivizing without penalizing players for not being subbed, as it were. Your only penalization is that you're paying money a bit more than you should to buy these DLCs, rather than you can't weapon swap while you're not subbed. Sounds ridiculous, but that's what the Star Wars did, isn't it? You can't have an extra one of the hot bars or something. You lose a hot bar's worth of skills.
Yep.
Yes. So it's the
Wow.
equivalent type thing. So yeah, okay, sure, they sell the DLCs at $10 a pop, but if you're not subbed, you only get one. You don't get weapon swap, and you can't wear jewelry. Yes. Let's go with some ridiculous ideas like that other games do to try and fleece you into subbing.
Oh, other games have done that, and
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it's crazy, but it's true. Other games have went that exact route, going if you don't sub, then you're SOL. So no, I don't find $30 to be too much. I really don't. I think Zos may have issues if they try going $30 for the next DLC, because we all know that Thieves Guild and Dark Brotherhood are going to be smaller. This was a big zone, public dungeons, a good number of things, right? So $30 not so much. I'm imagining Dark Brotherhood will probably have some item sets, new gear styles, and maybe a skill line, maybe a few sky shards or ways of gaining skill points, and a quest line. That's what I'm seeing Guild and Dark Brotherhood. I don't think those would be worth 30, 15. Yeah, maybe 10, 15. I could see that for that level of DLC. They just have to price it accordingly. Now, obviously, ESO Plus is the way to go. That they want people, so it makes sense. So there we go. So we went through all that. Now, for those who don't know, they are releasing a collector's edition of, or collector's pack, or whatever they want to call it, of the Orsinium patch. 5,000 crowns, $50. Includes the DLC, which was $30 already. Includes the bear mount, one of the bear mounts, the bear pet, and like 5 experience scrolls. Now, if you think about it, at that point in time, though, that's just them trying to get a little bit of off the cheap. Because if you think about it, let's just look at this. I'm assuming the bears are going to probably be along the same route as the Senshi Tigers. I don't think they're ever going to do a $30 mount again. I really don't. I think they were testing the waters and went, it's a little expensive, because a lot of people went against it. I could see 2,500 again, or somewhere in there, $25. I think that might be where they're staying. Now, again, I don't work for ZOS. I don't really know. But I really think the $30 was them just testing the water because they've not done this before. And they go, okay, this did not sell as well. Let's back that down. Let's look at this and go, I could see $25. I don't think we're going to see anything as cheap as the original mounts, which were 700. I think they're going to be somewhere in the 2.5K. So you got 2.5K for there. So if you bought each thing separately, you're already up to 5,500 crowns. The bear mount or the bear pet, what are those? I'm actually
700.
700. Yeah, probably gonna be similar to that. So right now you're at 662. Uh,
And then the 5
experience
crown scrolls is 1,000.
and 1,000. So you'd be at 7.2. So you're essentially they're trying to tell people if you bought everything separately, you're looking at about $72. Whereas if you buy it all together, it's 50. You're saving yourself 22. Now to them, it's digital goods, so it's not like they're just trying to entice through bundles, and people do this everywhere. Whenever it's that whole buy one get one free, buy one get one half off. They're trying to get you to buy in bulk. So
I just don't get why their fourth option was 5 crown scrolls. It's like
it's
maybe I think too much into it, but I saw it and I kind of thought, why is there not enough XP to be gained in Orsinium? Why are they giving us scrolls to go along on our adventure?
well, you could also
Makes me
think that this zone is level agnostic though, so this could be any level people going into it. It's not just max level people. If this were a VR 16 zone, would they get offer XP scrolls? Probably not. But this is pretty much anyone can go into it at any time.
I guess that makes sense. It's good for starting players since this is sort of a starting
Also
zone.
to let them experience just how great an experience scroll is, so they keep buying them like you do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that could be true.
Then you
Like
can't play
I
the
got
game
bought-
anymore because you realize how crappy XP is without a scroll.
Yeah, like I've never bought a scroll, you see, so I'm living blissfully ignorant. I thought if I bought them, it'd be a slippery slope. Once I got them, I could never
Yeah,
handle
I don't
going
I don't
anywhere without.
recommend it.
I actually
Yeah.
bought a stack of them. I still have 4 of them in my bag. I used one of them the one time that I think Kipster and Avi, we were in a dungeon somewhere. I gained like 5
Oh yeah.
levels off of it, but in the end, I was at work, so I was leaving. Which experiences I should have. But these guys were essentially letting me off of them. It probably would have been better if I was actively playing more than just throwing out a spell every once in a while. But I wasn't overly impressed, at least not from the leeching standpoint. Not enough to spend the money, but now that I've farmed up the Sigic Ambrosia recipe, I very well may do it that way. Make those if I could ever.
Yeah, the fish are my problem with those.
Yeah, that.
And they're only 30 minutes.
Well, you can all. They're affected by the drink thing.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's
So you
right.
can get them up to hour and a half.
That's nice.
So it's not as long, but then it's in game. So if you do all the fishing yourself, I probably have a stack of like 400 or so of the purple materials, so I could make tons of them. And you also make 4 at a shot if you have the full visioning. So like you could really just like throw them off like crazy if you wanted to.
Well, it's time to go fishing.
Yeah, I
I've
have
never
all the
caught a
map.
I've never caught a perfect row before. I've such bad luck.
I've got normal. Um, Cyrodiil. Dying my Cyrodiil. Um, um, what happens when I play the game at the same time? I get so distracted. All right, I don't know. What are Asteldian? I don't know if I heard your entire thoughts on our collectors of it.
Well, I've got no problem. I mean, what was it? 5,000 crowns? Did you say?
Yeah, 5,000 for
It's $20 more for as I say, amount. I mean, is that any different to when you buy yourself a collector's edition of any other game these days? What do they do when you actually buy a brand new game? Collector's edition, $20 or more increase, and what they give you some in-game pets, maybe a mount if you're lucky. Probably not though. So it's pretty standard. It's I say it's a decent deal. $20 more for stuff that would cost you more individually. If you're not someone who uses crowns, then it's not worth it. But if you're someone who does buy crowns, then yeah, why not? You're saving in the end, especially if you do buy scrolls. I say 5 scrolls, it's 1,000 crowns right there. So, and obviously a lot of people like bears, so they want to get the bear stuff. It makes common sense. I mean, most people are going to buy the bear mount and the bear pet. And you said both those are in the collector's edition?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's going to be what, 3,200 right there and then at least.
Yeah,
Maybe
right.
even more depending on what they're going to charge the pet. So yeah, forget the scrolls. You've already made it. I mean, as I say, most people I know or seen on Twitter and various things like so excited by the bear and the bear pet that it sounds like pretty much anyone who's getting the DLC is going to get those 2 items as well. So yeah, you've got yourself a bargain. Get yourself 5 free scrolls while you're at it.
Yeah, if you're not actually buying the deal, like if you're an ESO Plus subscriber, it's one of those things like why even bother? Because you already are going to have all of the stuff, right? Doesn't really matter. But if you're not an ESO Plus subscriber, then it does make sense. If you're already going to spend the $30 and you're going to do all that, why not throw down an extra 20 and get essentially $72 value? Bucks.
Yeah, and I think it's a good deal. I was just confused about the whole scrolls being in there, but it makes a little
Yeah,
more sense now.
I
I saw it and I was just like, why? But it makes sense for the starting people.
yeah. I
And maybe
mean,
they never changed it from when they were originally going to make this VR 18. Maybe they left the scrolls in there.
oh wow, this is VR 18. Here's the
Yeah.
scrolls.
They forgot to take them out after that. But yeah, no, like Ag said, it makes sense if you're not going to be max low when you go in there. Or even if you are, assuming you're not on 501 champ points, you'll probably want to make the most of those quests and get yourself a nice bit of experience boost for that.
All right, guys, it's game time. What have we been doing this week? Let's see. Let's start with Asteldian.
Mine's going to be very quick. I've not actually been on at all for the last 2 weeks, so I have no game time to share at all.
Okay.
It's nothing personal against the game, by the way. It's just I did my back in, so being at the computer had been a little bit uncomfortable, so I've kept away from the computer in general. So don't worry, it's not like, oh, I can't be asked to play, so I just
I just can't be asked to
kept away
play
from the
any
PC.
games.
Yeah, I've not touched anything, not even really internet browsing. I've just kept away. So
Okay, makes sense. Avi.
All right, well, I've been playing a lot. Like a lot, a lot. I don't think I've talked my tails in the past 3 weeks, so I've been doing quite a bit.
You're right,
Uh,
because we didn't do it the one week because it was
yeah,
just a you and me show. I'm like, let's just let it go short. And then next week we didn't do it.
and then the collab with ESOTR.
That's
So
right.
it's been a while. So I started a Khajiit Nightblade last time I talked to you guys, and he's already VR 14. So I got addicted. I got addicted to him. I played him hard and played him all the way through gold, got him all the way to gold content, and stopped him at VR 14. I'm gonna leave him there and just enjoy the last two because they're too annoying to get.
Right.
Uh, Besides that, my two lobies, who I think last time were both level 40 or so. My Dragon Knight is now VR 1, and my Brett and Templar is now VR 2. And I just started my Sorcerer today. I went grinding with Arc, so I got to level 15 really fast. So he's already level 15, so he's coming along quite well. Working on my Crafter. Finally, I got all the Dwemer styles, which is
Mm-hmm.
a nice accomplishment. I had to buy the last one because I couldn't get staves for the damn life of me, and then the next day I get it.
Oh,
So
don't you hate that?
yeah, it was the worst because I already felt kind of bad buying it with gold, thinking, oh, I've hunted them all down one by one. So
Right.
yeah, it was a bummer, but what can you do? And then besides that, I'm trying to revive my DC tunes a little bit. play them here and there, not too much. Just trying to get them armor. I got 3 of them right now: a VR7, a VR9, and a VR4. One of them's probably going to get deleted because I really want a stamina sorcerer on EP.
Okay.
So I might delete. I just made a new Breton sorcerer, so I might delete my VR4 Breton Sorc on DC, just replacing them, or my Templar. I mean, I just got another Templar to VR, so I think that's my 5th Templar getting to VR ranks, which is too much.
Excessive.
Yeah, it's just a little too much, you know.
Right.
So I have three veteran Templars right now. So I'm deciding who's gonna get the good old deletion. Uh,
One of you is getting the axe. Which
yeah,
one?
somebody's got to go. And then lastly, I've been running pledge nights. You know, I ran what was it? I ran Elden Hollow with Kilted, Krabby, and Ark, which was fun. And then I also ran Wayrest Sewers with Kilted, Krabby, and Shoots, which was really funny. I told Krabby I was gonna bring this up, so I'm gonna bring this up. Krabby died to crabs. Three crabs killed a Krabby, and I thought it was the funniest thing ever. So I told him, I'm putting it on the show, man. Yeah, it happened, so I'm saying it.
I fully that
Yeah.
great.
I look forward to a comic of that.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
that'd be
Draw.
a perfect comic.
That lets it head and anytime you want. Yeah, that's actually
Yeah, and
really
then last,
funny. Go ahead.
yeah, it was great. Oh, I was just gonna say, and lastly was the pledge that I ran with you, but I'll let you talk a little bit about that one.
Oh, okay. Let's see. We ran Tuesday Pledge Night. Ran that with what was that Arc something and normal white gold tower. Ran that on play. Those were. It was Arc. It was me. No, it wasn't Arc. It was Avi,
It was
me,
it was me, Kilted, and
and Kilt.
Kilted's friend.
Oh, that's right. That's
She was
right.
she was she was leading us through it.
Yes, yes. Did White Gold Tower. Didn't do the quest because I didn't know the lady who, and I wasn't gonna subject her to my my lore needs, so I didn't sit there. That just reminds me of the first time we ran through. What dungeon was it? It was one of those later ones. Crypt of Hearts, I think it was maybe. With Kipster, and this was when Thais and I were playing, and we went along and we dropped down into this giant library. And as soon as we dropped down, I just heard Kip going because
Cases.
we were reading every book, like everything he's. But he actually was nice enough to let. You know what? Go ahead, just read. I'm like, I can't subject, but I really wanted to, but I didn't do those, so I'll have to go back in and do. Arcs was fun. Got to play around with that a little bit. Thursday ran Imperial Cedric Imperial City with Faradark single malt. Avi, were you there?
No, I fell asleep and slept through it.
Oh
Sadly.
yeah. Krabby was there though, and it was actually really really interesting because when we went in there, no, this was the week before this that we ran it. We actually found a group of people doing the dungeons. Sorry about that, guys. It was single malt, me, Verdict, and there was one more person from the. Apologize. This is 2 weeks ago. We went through Imperial City sewers and we're just messing around. This last Thursday's Imperial City was the one that we got into, which Avi, it would have been a blast if you were there, but Krabby was there, myself, Verdict showed up, one person who can't remember, it was Arc made it. Arc, how could I forget Arc in your game? We decided since no one else was really there, we lost the axe of whatever campaign, so AD had it. So we had to go to Azure Star, which is always hopping, right? We hop into the Imperial City. There was only like 3 of us at the start. Faradix joined later. And we're like, well, since there's only 3 of us, we can't do sewer. You're looking in zone. No one was doing it. So it's like, all right, let's. I mean, I guess we could have messed around in super. Like, let's do the district daily. The first zone we hopped into was Memorial District, and as soon as we got up there, we saw all these people standing there. There were a crud of Daggerfall Covenant players just like attacking us from on top of the thing. It was insane. There had to be like 20. Ark being my tank and me going, what the heck? We don't have any stones right now anyway. We just jumped down and just started attacking. After we jumped down, so did a bunch of other people. Everyone else was just jumping off, following us, and it turned into a massive battle between us and DC in the Memorial District, going back and forth, back and forth. All of a sudden, about an hour into this, Aldmari Dominion starts coming around the other side and tries to do like a pincer move. And Blood for the Pact, we held them off the entire time. Great. We fought off DC. 80s coming behind us. We just around, crushed the 8 back around. Oh, it was so. Oh my goodness. Fast. We did that for probably about 2.5 hours, I think, messing around, fighting this through. We didn't even do a single class. We just had an itchy Templar. Tracks. Either it doesn't track or you have to have the killing. How that? Because I got it for killing 10 sorcerers. I really feel like the only way that works is if you have the killing, because I know I've killed more than 10 sorcerers, or at least assisted, so I think it has to be a kill. But I got that. So that's really neat. I have been messing around with a new build, because until I move, my internet is crap, and even right now I'm sitting at 166 ping. So it's pretty excessive, and it's very, very hard to do anything with this high of ping. So I looked up this Magicka build that doesn't require weaving to actually get a fairly decent S score. It's still melee. It's a melee Magicka build, and I actually just finished doing it now. So I have that. I recreated a bunch of armor. All of it's crafted. I need to find jewelry. Any rank. I was planning going 3 hour. Just I'm gonna play around with it, see how it turns out if I let keep it. But it's 4 Magnus set and 4 Eyes of Mara. I can't even remember using Eyes of Mara recently, but because I'm using a Destro staff and a greatsword for the melee portion of it, it just seemed like I can get 2 4 sets, and the Eyes of Mara have the exact same stat bonuses as I guess it's not the exact same. Oh, actually, it is. It is the exact same set as the Magus set. It gives a 911 stamina or magicka, 121 magicka recovery, and 121 spell damage. Now, given the stat increase is the 2 set bonus on the Magus set, the recovery is the 3 set, and the spell damage is the 4 set. On the Eyes of Mara, recovery is the 2 set. The raw stat magicka set, and spell damage is the 4 set. But I've been able to run around with those. So I'm able to run around 2 sets to get fairly good damage, spell extra magic. As of right now, I'm sitting at 30k magicka in VR 14. That's only purple. It's not terrible, and I'm actually not even wearing any jewelry yet because I had none. I bought some cheap VR 14 to 15 jewelry that was on the market that was only, a couple hundred or a couple thousand gold or whatever. It just had like arcane trade on it, and it was like, yeah, whatever. But ideally, I think I'd want an agility set and see how it turns. But I want to play with it, see how it turns out. If I like it, I may end up keeping it. Current build is for the great sword, puncturing sweep. I just did it, and someone I'm in the bank in Mordhold, and one of those attackable NPCs started walking. I'm like, oh crud! I had to turn because I'm like, there's 20 guards around me. I'm like, I'm gonna get murdered. Structured entropy, the radiant destruction, and rune focus. So I guess the whole idea of it is using rune focus up to keep your sustain going, using entropy and keeping that up because it provides empower from the magica or from the mages guild, and using that, and then using biting jabs and just doing a light, trying to do a little bit of weave from that. But anytime that your ultimate up, and the ultimate I'm using right now is crescent sweep, which from what I was reading on Tamriel Foundry, for the amount of ultimate it requires, is very, very powerful for how low it is. And what you do is you hit entropy, even if entropy hasn't worn off yet. You hit it so you get the empower bonus and do crescent sweep to do get the empower bonus for it, and that's how you play this. And then my secondary bar is my range bar. I have blazing spear. I have reflective light on for the AoE. This is my AoE, and I have solar barrage, and a destro staff, regain magicka, and of course spell symmetry. I run out of magicka from other things, and inner light. That's what I'm kind of rolling, and then I have shooting star on if I need a harder hitting. Overall, I'm liking it so far.
Nice.
So that's what I'm trying to play with. I know, Asteldian, you were saying you were running something very similar.
Yeah, I do use something very similar to that. I use different gear. Your ones are crafted, I guess.
All of it's crafted.
Yeah.
I know dual wield's better.
No, well, even aside from that, I personally think I'd use Kagnarak's Hope, because the 5 set of that gives a very nice bonus to your spell power, and the rezzing bonus is kind of cool as well. Obviously, what I use is martial knowledge, and I use 2 Torug's Pact, I think.
Yeah.
Or was it 4 Magnus now? I mean 4 Magnus, because I use dual wield, of course, so I can do a 5. I use a 5 and a 4. I can't remember off the top of my head what he uses. But yeah, I mean, it's a similar idea, but so I'd use Kagnarak's Hope, or in the case of Orsinium, obviously you'd go with 5 piece of the Juliana stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
So go with that. And then I personally have a hatred for staffs, so I don't use a staff in any of my builds.
I generally do, but I couldn't figure anything else out that would...
I just stick with a 2-handed sword. In fact, funnily enough, if you read that thread of the Aedric Warrior, obviously he's updated now, but somewhere along the lines of it, you'll see that I actually mentioned to him, I said, because I think he was using a staff and using the impulse, and I actually said to him, well, have you tried using a sort of barrage? Because between having a dual wield or 2-handed sword and your AoE bar and using that, you do considerable more damage than an impulse does. So yeah, if I should be thread. So I do that style. So I use a weapon on both. I use a proper man's weapon on both bars, none of this staff nonsense. And I use barrage, or if you've gone with dark flare, then I just use spam the blazing spear.
Right. I have technically speaking, I'm not even using a destro staff skills. I could actually use anything I wanted.
So again, a weapon gives you more, the 2-handed weapon or dual wield will give you a higher spell power, so therefore your AoE will actually be more effective.
Maybe I'll actually switch to dual.
And as long as you keep your channel focus down, I mean, I never use potions at all, even for magicka, because you get almost 500 magicka from that channeled focus every 2 seconds. So I got that down. I've done all the times running DSA. I, on occasion, might have had to throw down a potion but only a budget potion. I don't use any fancy ones, just a crappy magic one I'd picked up from a boss I'd killed or something. So I'd use them sporadically. But yeah, the build has no sustain issues, so I've never had to try and do a heavy attack. So I don't miss not having a staff at all, and I just feel much better not having a god-awful staff. And that's the one of the things I love about the Templar, is the fact that he's got both single target spammable abilities and AoE ones. So unlike a DK, who has no choice but to have a Destro on at least 1 bar if he's got magicka, you have the luxury of being able to do anything you want with the Templar, which is one of the things I really love about him. So yeah, get your two-handed sword on both. Well, as I say, I do like dual wield on the magic build. I think it's the way that when you use your execute the cool beam.
Yeah,
I think having the one-handed sword in your other hand while you're beaming looks pretty damn cool. I spent a lot of my time doing the beam, you see, so I think it looked cooler than the two-handed sword for that. So
I gotcha.
I do that. And between that and the fact your puncturing sweep kind of makes your sword disappear anyway, I just went dual wield for the most part. So
Makes
yeah, but yes,
sense.
it sounds like you got on the right way. But I'd say you'll obviously go for the higher spell power as soon as the Orsinium patch hits. You can get the Juliana set.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, for me, the dual wield 8 was giving more when you're less than what is it 40,000 magic. It gives more anyway, but it was also nice having the extra set bonus from it. That was my main reason why I liked it over the Master Sword. It let me use quite a lot of things. So I guess 4 Cagnarex or 4 Julianos, the 3 willpower jewelry, and then that probably leaves us 8 spaces done. So you can do a bit of Torugs or something. That'll probably max out your spell power anyway. But it's an awesome build. I love it.
It's one of those things where I'm sitting here thinking like I'm not even really all that concerned about well really any of the gear because like the VR16 right now I'm sitting there going man I should really be farming VR16 but with how quick that um Orsinium's coming out all the stuff that I have I feel like I should just sell it now while the price is high
Yeah.
and then just farm up the VR16 mats later because then it's just me in PvE zone just farming going maybe I'll get something and if I do great just might be a little that then sell all the stuff that I stockpile just to make.
Yeah, it's a clever plan. I only have 2 pieces of metal, so
I don't
no use to.
I don't have a ton. I have enough that it would be worthwhile for me to sell, like enough that I would actually make a fairly large chunk of money, maybe not tons of money, but enough that I wouldn't be like, oh wow, shake a stick at it, but it's enough that it'd be like, hey, it's worth more now than it is in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, I imagine is going to drop pretty drastically. So
Yeah, very true. That's assuming that the mobs do drop VR15 stuff in Orsinium. I've not actually checked that.
well, that's where the nodes. Remember, the nodes actually have that chance of giving better stuff.
They do, but it sounds like they're stingy enough that it might not necessarily. Mind you, yeah, you're right. It's going to drop the price no matter what because the fact that everyone can go in there safely, not worry about getting killed by PvPers, will probably make it
Yeah,
farm fest. So yeah, you're right. It'll.
that alone will make it worthwhile for me. Is the fact that it's just
It's a
easier
safe zone.
safe zone. I can farm in there for hours without getting ganked. Yeah, I technically don't lose anything, but it's also you got that. You have the maybe you will get it, maybe you won't kind of deal. You know what I mean? Like, there's no guarantee. The only thing that's guaranteed in the entire thing when you kill stuff are the stones.
Yeah.
And you can lose the stones by, stupid. So it's like, it's just easy not to.
Yeah, it will be much cheaper. You're right. It'll be nice and easy, peaceful time. I know people in my guild are looking forward to using Orsinium to get all their gear.
Well, yeah, because then
They're not PvPers, so
I'm not a real PvPer either. I mean, I enjoy Imperial City for what it is. Don't get me wrong. Imperial City is a lot of fun, and I enjoy playing it. But it's something I would go in there for the experience of Imperial City. If I'm sitting there just trying to get gear, I also feel like I'd be able to make gear easier, and I wouldn't be so stingy about making it because like I just farm it by just running out there and just running around like what I do all the time, like what I'm doing right now in the show. I'm while we're talking, I'm just literally running around Craglorn just mining stuff. That's what I'm doing.
yeah.
That worked out for me. So I wouldn't.
What's sad is I think Orsinium is actually going to come out before I even step foot in Imperial City. I've still not been in there. I went on a PTS, so I've not actually been on it on the live.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that's the end of our gameplay. So let's go ahead and we actually have a ton of things. First off, up on my list, we have two 5-star reviews on iTunes. One 5-star review, love it, from J Graham 90. I've been listening to these guys since maybe episode 20. Not sure the number, but anyway, it's been quality the entire time. Good coverage, fantastic people, and entertaining. I miss when Thais was on and did the lore master stuff, but I understand what it's like to have a little milk drinker, so it's all good. Anyway, I highly recommend, and sorry it took so long for a 5-star review. Thank you so much, JGram90. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also up, awesome podcast, 5 stars from Michael Scarn99. I can honestly say this is one of the most well-rounded, dedicated gaming podcasts around. You hit the butter zone, at butter, between canned gaming company shows that toe the party line and the TeamSpeak rantings that happen to be recorded and uploaded as podcasts. I like it. Cool. What I mean to say is that you have a great format and flow to the show while allowing the show to go off topic as needed to bring out other ideas and topics. The production as a whole is great as well, though it would be nice if the background music was consistent throughout the recording rather than having high volume moments when some of the hosts get grounded. Yeah, besides that one minor issue, you guys are awesome. Keep up the great work. Who knows, I might even join. Act. I will look at the music volumes. I pick random songs. What I really should do is sit down and find songs that keep the same tempo the entire time. It's really funny because the fact you mentioned this every week, I sit down and I listen to the music, and as I'm putting it in, going, "Wow, that's a really great song!" Like the volume level is really good. It makes it nice and easy. Same decibel rating works the entire way through. I should really mark it down. So that's my fault. Then I'll add other songs that start off really, really low and then all of a sudden have a huge crescendo, and it's like, yes, I will do better. Those are our two 5-star reviews this week. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 emails this week. This is awesome. I'm going to start off with the first one, which actually just got most recently and smallest. This is from Kevin. I'm not going to say your last name, internet, so Kevin. Hello. In regards to Tales of Tamriel, I was wondering why Aggelos has such an irrational hate towards the Aldmari Dominion. Not irrational. Is it because you are sticking up for your team, or is there something deeper in the lore? I've only recently started playing ESO, Xbox One gamer tag Sumo Spud. There you go. All of my friends were Aldmari Dominion. Naturally, I joined. Keep up the great work. Love the podcast. Evan. Damn dirty elf.
Because the Dominion sucks.
No, it's a lot of it is lore reasons for the Aldmari Dominion. A couple of them being Altmer, the High Elves are just pricks, for no greater term. They are. They're just they kind of got that whole Master of the Universe kind of thing under it. Just second thing is I kind of have some issues with Queen Aldmari. She's only. I know some other people have said that too. Like, she's so young. It's like, why would they have picked her? Like, it just doesn't make sense to have such an unseasoned person be Aldmari Dominion. A lot of that hate comes playing Skyrim as well because of the Thalmor and their hate. I also play a Nord. I attribute myself to be a Nord. If this race, my actual background culture. So yeah, I love the Nords, and the Nords just, lore wise, hate the elves. So they're all elves. I do love Khajiit though. Khajiit are awesome. Love Khajiit. Bosmer are kind of cool too. My reason. Avi.
I really just don't like them because of Skyrim, honestly. I don't know. Skyrim just gave me such a hate when it comes to the high elves in general. I have a hard time liking high elves who are just merchants. It's like I don't ever want to sell to him. So, and I don't like the Bothmer at all. I'm not a big fan of the cannibal idea, but just like you, I love Khajiit. So,
Khajiit are awesome. I feel bad for them.
yeah, Khajiits are awesome. They
Uh,
got tricked.
they did get tricked. Poor guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all because of Master and Secunda. I'm telling you. Actually, I think this happened before that. At least that's how they came into Skyrim. Master and Secunda disappeared. Those wacky Thalmor. Here's one of Khajiit right
They
now.
came.
See?
They came to the Dominion this time, I believe, because Iran supposedly stopped the disease that was
Oh,
spreading
the
in
Nahatan
elsewhere.
flu. Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Like I really believe that happened. Just like when
Yeah,
in the fourth
exactly.
era, Master and
Just
Secunda disappear, and the elves were like, "Oh, we used dawn magic to bring it back." Oh, I have a Khajiit right here. Up on me. There you go. You just sit up there. Cat butt. Yeah. No, I think they're. Yeah, that's pretty much all. Asteldian, I know you really don't like them either, but it's just game.
Yeah, it's just such a bloody boring set of zones. God, what a tedious bunch of people they are. It's really
yeah, that's
put me off
true.
playing them.
You
Not
you
that being any other faction helps, because you still have to go through it, but ugh.
yeah.
Green Shade just sums it up for me. It's just no,
Green
not Green Shade. Sorry, the one
Grotwood.
with the stupid big tree,
Grotwood.
Grotwood. Oh, yeah.
Hear everyone complain about Grot. I've not seen it yet because I've not actually. Um,
Well, you're lucky because when you get there, they've patched it in so you can at least use your horse inside that great big tree.
No, I noticed.
That
I
was
noticed that you can do
really
that.
annoying. I was getting dismounted and you had to go in there so often. It's like, oh, crying out loud.
next email from returning emailer Severed Ned. Hey, Severed Ned. Greetings, Tales of Tamriel. I was listening to your honest look at ESO with Elder Scrolls Off the Record and hearing the discussion on earning tokens from dungeons and unbalancing the crown store. I began to think about how Zos could remedy these foibles. One thought I had was to implement a system similar to what Neverwinter has done. Daily quests, running dungeons, and participating in in-game events earns players a special currency called Astral Diamonds, which can be exchanged with other players for Zen, which is their version of crowns. Um, the Astral Diamond exchange can fluctuate anywhere between 50 to 500 Astral crowns, and as the walked over my face now, it's all itchy. 50 to 500 Astral crowns per piece of Zen. The specific point is that is completely turned by the player base. I think Guild Wars 2 does something similar to that too. Like you can buy gems and then you can sell them for in-game gold, and it fluctuates based on the demand. Like you can just sell them and it's like, well, we have X amount of people buying gems, X amount of people selling, so this is the average rate. Although it is admitted that Neverwinter is a free-to-play, not buy-to-play MMO, thus it has many of the unusual trappings common to free-to-play cash shops, such as extra bag slots, locked box keys, and experience boosters, faster mounts, race reroll tokens, etc. Astral Diamonds, on the other hand, are far from useless, being similar to Telvar Stone, and needed to purchase things such as keys, dungeon chests, trans items, completing certain profession tasks, and for upgrading top. In my opinion, having exchange means that services in the cash shop don't feel like win because someone can earn things from the cash shop without significant effort simply by playing regularly and selling things on the auction house and having an exchange rate controlled by players. Is it fair? Just wondering what your thoughts are on ESO implementing a similar system. The ability to earn things in game to purchase crowns from others. That's the system. Thoughts?
Wait, say that one more time.
No.
Yeah,
The
I was gonna say, what?
the idea of something similar to Neverwinter or Guild Wars 2, where people could buy crowns and then could put them up on an auction house that people buy. What are your guys' thoughts?
Go ahead, Asteldian.
No, I've played Neverwinter Nights, and I've also played briefly Guild Wars 2 as well. I'm not a fan of having their cash shop currency being able to be traded in game. In fact, that's one of the redeeming features of ESO. I felt was the fact that they are very separate. I understand the theory that if the items are tradable, then you could try and argue that the shop isn't pay to win anymore because you can earn everything in game by sort of buying people's crowns. The problem is it works the other way. People with money buy crowns, sell it for ridiculous amounts of gold, and then they buy everything in game as well. And so they sort of dominate every market you can imagine. In game, out of game, they can have everything they want on demand. I hate cash shops as it is. I understand the games like to have them these days, but the more separate you can keep that cash shop from the game, the better. So I would not like to see currencies being tradable. That's why I even don't like the idea of gifting people from the crown store. I know a lot of people like the idea of it, and I can see why people like the idea of the gifting thing, but it can still go down the same road as if you can gift, you can start manipulating markets by buying things from the crown store to then sell on the market by gifting, as it were. So
yeah, but I'm of the notion where gifting is something like I don't like I do agree with that. I think that should not be allowed. Like someone goes, "Hey, I'll buy this for you if you do gold." I think that should be treated the same as gold sellers, and the person should be banned.
yeah, if it's policed, it's fine. I just think it'd be very difficult to police, and
I
that's
don't
where
think
get
it would
tricky.
be. Put it in the player's hands. Put a report function. Be like, "Hey, they're selling gold." And they can look through the chat log and see that Avi was going, wanting to sell, you know, mine shriven horse 2 million gold. Like you can track these things. Every single thing you do in MMOs is tracked. Like you want to talk about Big Brother, they know every keystroke. They can look it
Yeah,
up.
my concern there is, yes, the way of saying, oh, they can police it, they know, but will they really do anything about it? Will they spend the time, the effort to look through the stuff that's sent and then get rid of people? Do they really? Do they really want to? Someone's gone and spent a load of money on the crowns, and that someone has bought something from the crowns that someone other player wouldn't buy crowns, so they've gone and bought something they can trade it for gold. So ESO have made money out of this transaction, so they can
Yeah.
also go, oh, we'll
Yeah.
ban them, but it benefits ESO. I don't see them going, oh, well, we better ban those guys after all. I mean, there's enough reports of people doing dodgy things here, there, and everywhere. And how long does it take to actually either ban them or warn them or fix the issue? I
All you
just
got
don't see them being that incentivized to do anything about it.
all you got to do is make a public example of a couple people, whereas the person who sold it gets banned and the person who bought it gets it removed from their account without returning of any of the items. A few people hop on Reddit or the forums, say that happened to them. People will start to know, oh, this is not allowed. I shouldn't do that, and they'll treat it the same way as buying gold. I mean, people buy gold anyway in other games. It does happen, but there's still that should I do it, should I not kind of deal. Like if I get caught, will I lose? Is it worth it? Do I care? Like it will happen one way or the other. It's the same as I think I saw a Reddit post the other day, which I know I reported. Someone was trying to sell their account, going, I'm quitting ESO. I have X amount of VR4 15s or 16s or whatever. Make me an offer. I'm like, sell accounts. Like, that's against the terms of service. Not only that, it's against the Reddit terms of service or whatever. You shouldn't be selling that stuff, but people will get caught doing it. People do it. They'll try to do it, but the populace has to police itself. It's the same as in real life. It's like, yeah, we have speed limits, right? Do people follow them all the time? Well, no. But we still have rules in place. Do we catch everyone? No, but catch a couple people. And there is still that fear of, is it worth me doing? No?
I just don't see ZOS being interested in wanting to police it. And frankly, I don't see why. I don't see them willingly adding a system, which then they need to have to start spending extra time and customer service, which they've already abolished, trying to keep an eye on or taking in reports and stuff. It seems like a lot of extra work that's going to come their way for adding in gifting, for example. And their reward for doing that extra work is essentially losing out on money ultimately, because as I say, it works for them. People want to buy things from the crown store, and so the only reason I think is also don't allow it at the moment is because the players don't want it to happen, so they just kept it out short and sweet. But if they add it in, I don't see them then saying, but you can't go trading it for money or anything. If they put it as gifted, they'll be like, you know what, do what you want with it. It's in, we make money one way or another, so we don't really care. So they just kept it out of the game for now. It's just a much simpler way of doing it because it keeps people kind of happy. But yeah, I don't see them caring to police it. It's not in their benefit. It's going to cost them more money and they're going to lose out on money. So yeah, why bother?
Next email.
Well, what about Abby? Did
Oh, Avi.
What
Avi, what are your
happened?
thoughts? I thought Avi did give
Oh,
his
sorry.
thoughts.
No, yeah, no. Well, I'm simple. I think you guys covered it pretty well. I don't like the idea of it. Keep the crown store as far away from my game as possible,
I still
please.
like the idea of gift. It would, in certain situations like ours, it
It
would
works for
make,
a podcast. It
yeah,
works for a
Yeah.
podcast.
because we
That's
get
not really a worthwhile
all right. I
endeavor, I
don't
don't
care.
think.
Zos, just do it for me and do it for like we're done.
Like I don't like how he says his like their what's it called, astral diamonds are kind of like our Telvar stones. Like I'd hate the idea that you could turn in Telvar stones for crowns, or that you can buy something on the crown store, you can go off and sell it for gold, or anything on that line. Anything like that, I dislike.
Hmm. I I don't know. I'm kind of okay. I kind of actually like the idea with Guild Wars 2 how they do it. Yeah, like you can buy it with gems and sell it for gold. But that also means that the people who have the money are you can't control it because it's not controlled by the player. The player can't go, I'm selling my 1,000 crowns for 1,000,000 gold. They throw it up on an auction house, which it takes in the account of the amount that are on the market, amount of people that are buying it, and adjusts as a price. Going, okay, we have X amount of people buying, X amount of people selling. That equals out to an average price of 150 gold a crown. And you can't control it, but you can control when you want to throw. It's kind of like the stock market. You can control when you want to buy or sell, right? Like based on the prices they go up and down. If you have a bunch of crowns and go, well, right now they're only worth 150 gold a piece. I'm not throwing them up there because that's not really worth my time. I'll wait till they're, the amount of crowns is lower on the market and therefore they're worth more, and then I'll throw them, and people will just buy them, and they're just thrown into it. And it's not even like people can buy from a specific person. They're just kind of thrown up and they're in the aether and they're sold as a first come first serve kind of deal. You know what I mean? So the only way people can really manipulate the boards is on a very mass scale. It's not like one person can sit there and buy up all the crowns for like 100 gold and put them back up for 1,000. That's not how it works. It's all done different. I like that for the fact that then people who have a lot of time to play the game and maybe not a lot of excess money could then go, I have nothing to buy with gold. I'll just buy a couple crowns and instead of throwing down $10. And the people with a lot of money, like people are saying, can buy extra crowns and go, I'll just throw them in here and get me some in game. It's the legal version of gold buy. And there are some other concerns with that. I know Guild Wars 2 economy after 3 years has gotten a little crazy. For returning players, like for me, I go back and play it every once in a while and I look at the prices going, oh, prices are really high on a lot. But that happens in every MMO over time. I don't think it's went super crazy, but the addition of being able to sell the crown store or the cash shop currency does affect the global market because now gold has a different value. Gold doesn't just have a value for items that are easy to get anymore. It has an actual tangible cash value. Um, I don't know. I actually kind of like it. I'm not too opposed to it one way or the other. I mean, if you have to have a cash shop, I do like the idea of then, at least for the people who want to keep everything in game and not want to play their credit card statement, could technically then do it. Because then the people who don't really care and will throw the money, and then I can buy it with gold. Does that make any sense? Like I know if you don't like it, it's not the idea, but that's
Yeah,
that's how I
no,
come.
you make it makes sense. I'm not a big fan of the whole
My
idea of it.
my issue is anything that starts involving this sort of, oh, good, you can spend your crowns, I can spend gold in it. It's cool in theory, but I just think the minute you've got that, it's like he says in the email, it technically means that things in the cash shop aren't pay to win. And that's the mentality that suddenly gets taken. It's like, well, everyone can trade in these cash things anyway. It's no harm in us selling these best in slot items because technically it's not pay to win because you can use gold to get them via the in game. It just muddies the water a lot.
Hmm.
And that worries me the minute you start being able to buy and sell the cash up things. It's technically like, for instance, the experience potions. Everyone was really against that until they added the way you can craft it in the game. And that made that pieced people out. But ultimately, you're still saying you can pay money to get an advantage. But people don't mind that because you can get it in game. Well, if you're telling me I can technically use gold to get the currency to buy something out of game in game, then it's the same argument, and therefore Why can't you put in items, a master weapon on the crown store, because you can buy it in game by using gold to buy crowns from someone? It just becomes a very dangerous place to be playing around. That's my view anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. While I like the idea, it is I don't know.
It's a slippery slope.
It is. But that depends on the let's just put it this way. Let's put it it's the ethical morals of the company. Are they willing to maintain their IP for the sake of their IP? Or are they only in it for the money? And I know it's a business. Get me wrong there, but some companies are more concerned about the well-being of their intellectual property, especially a series. I know Square Enix is very protective of their Final Fantasy property, and I know they've went along the ways of Final Fantasy 14, mentioning about not doing anything that was so detrimental that would leave bad taste in people's mouths. While it might be worth more money, it brings the series down in people's eyes, because you know what's going to happen. What comes to people's minds first and foremost? The negative, right? Never the positive, always the negative. So doing something negative to the community will come up, even if it's a decade ago. It'll be like, remember that time when ESO did this? Not even if they changed their ways and more Elder Scrolls games came out, and it would just be a matter of, remember when ESO did this? Are they going to do it again? I mean, I look at it that way anytime EA releases a game at all. How are they going to microtransaction that? I mean, well, it's proven true so far, but they get that reputation, and that sullies everything they do from there on out. Don't want to keep your potential players happy and playing your game and interested in future upgrades if you're an MMO or new games in general. Like, if ZOS, and I know a lot of people came from a single player point of view, may not affect them, but it's still true. Once, if ZOS literally destroyed the Elder Scrolls, would it bode well for Elder Scrolls 6? I mean, probably not. I mean, a lot of people do play the single players exclusively, or whatever, and they don't even. Some people don't even think ESO is part of trilogy. They think of it as a side off, like a Redguard, something like that. But it's true. Like, if you damage the reputation of the Elder Scrolls, that will follow you, and that will follow for any other game they release. So they have to be very careful about that, because this is their this is their intellectual property. This is their thing that we all love, that we're doing a podcast about. But if you drag its name through the mud when the next iteration comes out, are we going to be so apt to jump on it, or are we going to be like, what are they going to do to screw this one up? And I know that ZOS doesn't control the single player games, that's Bethesda, but they're all under the same ZeniMax company. The guys issuing the orders are still doing it to the other company. And you think, if they screwed up ESO, how are they going to screw up Elder Scrolls 6? So you got to be very careful when dealing with an intellectual property, that, especially if you're planning on it being a continuance. All right, next email. Hello, I'm a new player to ESO. Well, I've been playing for 2 months after finding a great offer on the game and working out as buy to play. I've been listening to your show since I picked up ESO, and I find it a very good show. I would like to touch on the last podcast and the previous ones where you guys seem very disheartened with the game. My cat just hit. There we go. Out of here, cat. Sorry about this, emails. Like she's doing something. All right. I want to touch base. Previous podcast, disheartened. And I thought I would give you a new perspective from a new player. I'm sure I'm not the only new player here, and from hearing all the doom of the game, I would like to bring some positives. Coming from a longtime sub from SWOTOR, I found ESO on offer and started playing as buy to play. I started a few characters until I could find one that matched what I wanted to do. A Khajiit on AD as a melee dual-wield DPS. I found this game beautiful. I love the art style that they went with, and the quests are awesome with beautiful zone and landscape. You can stop in many places and just look around and enjoy the quality artwork that's been put into the game. When I heard a dolmen pop the first few times, I had no idea what was going on. I could hear the noise and looking around in the direction of the noise in the distance, and you could see the big chains coming from the sky. Took a few of these to encourage a brave investigation of what they are. Now, when I hear them, I go running for them. Now back on track. The game is confusing to start with. Now that I'm a veteran MMO player, it still was lost with all the skills, traits, and the evolves for the skills, what to do and how to do it. I found some experienced players that went from ESO to SWOTOR. Funny it being the opposite way from me, and they got some advice that helped. Add-ons make a massive difference to the game. I feel sorry for console players who don't have this. Sky shards, lore books, loot add-ons, inventory, map nodes, looted, the list goes on. This is a massive feature of the game, and I love them. Do you do a review on the podcast of good ones, or could you? We actually have done that in the past. And when we do find a good add-on, we do like to review it. We actually were doing that for a while. But unfortunately, there's only a handful of ones out there. Off my lap, she won't. Some of our previous episodes, if you go through them, I think we even put a note on it when we do the add-ons and what they were. So if you want to go back to some older episodes,
there is still the recommended add-ons on the GCN site, I believe.
Yes, there is.
It
yes.
still exists. That I still use, I think, basically all those add-ons, so they're still working. And there's a list of 25 to 30 there, all with an explanation of what they do. So that sheet is still relevant. It's not obsolete, and it's got extra ones written down because I think Rax added some stuff in a comment as well. So I say I still use that when people ask on Reddit. I send them a link to that saying, you know what, you might want to check this because it lists a lot, all the ones I use, and I say Rax has his on there, so there's a lot to choose from and gives you an idea if you want to use them or not. I'd say that's probably the best place to start, and then from there, just check them out yourself.
I'm actually going to skip through a couple of this. It's a really good email. He goes through telling about a lot of stuff that really cool in the game, and we do agree. And gets down. So far, I have to say, it's the best buy-to-play option of any MMO I've seen, and very enjoyable. If any people looking to buy and play, listening to the podcast, I would just pick it up and have a go. It's well worth it. Now, I have subbed as I wanted to build up some crowns if I needed to get any DLC in the future, and I'm enjoying it, so I might as well support it and get a few extra XP and gold in the process. I'm not going to mention any glass armor. Oops, I did. Well, I will mention bag slots and loot. What is going on? My bags fill up in a short time, and trip to town can take an hour. Banking, alt banking, crafting. I really hope they add the crafting map bank very soon, or get more loot, buy more bags. Anyway, thanks for the great podcast. There are and will be more of me coming in into the game. I see new players all the time. What do you think about doing a catch-up segment for new players to help them bring them into knowledge of how to do things and how things work? Oh, I also forgot to mention, I've never played an Elder Scrolls game. Lots of periods. Brett from Ireland, also known in-game as Nagroof on the EU PC. Brent, thank you so much for the email. I apologize for not reading all of it. I did read all of it, and it's in our notes. Our host read all of it, but for air of the fact that it's almost 2 hours, I had to cut it out. There was some negativity the past few weeks, just due to a lot of things. Though I know that I myself and a few others found some things out that I think that are really good, and I can't mention any of them. But let's just say that a lot of it was, I really feel like in the future, a lot of the negativity, as I feel like they might have a good handle on some things, and really looking forward. And the game is gorgeous for what it is. Like, we wouldn't be doing this podcast for almost 2 years now if we did not love this game. I still log into this game and I just walk around going, wow, it's absolutely gorgeous. I can't do this in any other game. Like, I walk around the same zones all the time and I just love it because of what it is. It is an absolutely amazing, gorgeous game. Gameplay is fun. I love the character creation. The ability to pretty much do whatever you want is something that I look forward in almost every MMO going forward. It's kind of like, what? I'm locked into a single class. I can only use so many weapons. I'm out. Now, I like to be able to do everything. And this game allows me to do that, and I love it. Like I was saying in our Tales section earlier, just being able to switch from my very stamina heavy class to a battle mage, essentially, the melee caster. Oh, I've been having a blast with it. Like, I really have. It's been so much fun. So we all really adore this game. Why we're here. This podcast. Anyone else have anything else they want to say on that before we?
The negativity is over. Orsinium is coming.
Yeah, I think it was just a bit of bad luck, wasn't it? It just happened to be a small flurry of bad things happening at once. It's not like, oh, the game's over, it's crap, and everyone playing. It's just a few bad things seem to happen. We had a drought of content, and then there's an issue with the Crown store, and so it just happened to be that on a flurry of episodes, it was bad thing after bad thing whilst waiting for something good to come. But yeah, that's what happens. It'll probably happen again in a year's time or something. All games have this sort of situation where things go a bit, yeah. But that's the point of a podcast, isn't it? You talk about the good, you talk about the bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
As the previous one of the 5-star reviews is, we're not a canned podcast. We're not paid by the company. We're not here just to spout all glory and trumpets for the game if we feel there's a problem. Do we feel like it's the best MMO out there right now? Absolutely. At least I do. Like I really do. I think it's the best one out there, hands down. It's got a world that I love. It's fun. I do feel like there are some things missing, particularly for certain groups of people, such as the raiders, which I really hope that they look at and address. But other games go through that. Even World of Warcraft, which is the epitome of raiding games for the most part, is in raiding droughts. They go through them from time to time, and we're in one now. I'm hoping that they change that, but there's so much more to do in the game that it's just a blast to do. All right, before we sign off, I do got to say that this episode has been brought to you by our awesome fans over .com/. If you wish to support us, you can do so over there. There's a link on our website for flat donation. Help us out. None of it is required, but thank you so much. You can also support us by checking out our YouTube page, youtube.com/network. Definitely check out this episode because I do have format for the show, and I'm nice and good, and I'll be streaming it live once good internet. Leaving us 5-star reviews on iTunes, that helps us out so much. And just follow the website. Check out the guides, point them out to people that we have on the site. Visit the site, check out all of the things we do there. We have multiple podcasts over at Not Just a Fan of Elder Scrolls. We have Chocobo Nights for the Final Fantasy crowd, led by our very own Setsua. Have the Midnight Hour, which is an adult, mature, audience-oriented general gaming podcast, as well as the Dungeon Crawler Network podcast, which is a monthly podcast that talks about what all we've done on the network, as well as goes into a little bit of current game news and that nature. Check that out as well. We have a new comic strip, The Dungeon Crawlers. Check it out. Those are all right, guys. Final thoughts. Avi, why don't you?
It was a great episode. I'm happy to be back after 2 weeks and overly excited for Orsinium, and I can't wait for it.
And where can people find you? You haven't done that.
Oh yeah, you can find me on Twitter, in-game, everywhere at Avi Optimal. That's AVIOPTIMAL.
And Asteldian.
Yeah, it was a fairly positive episode. So for those who are tired of the ranting, that's probably good for them. I'd say my only real issue was obviously the DSA was my only disappointment. But other than that, Orsinium, I think it's going to be a great thing for the soloists. I mean, me personally, I don't have much interest in this DLC, but that's kind of the way it goes, isn't it? People didn't care about the IC one because it was PvP focused. It didn't make it a bad DLC. It's not for everyone. This one's very much a soloing one, so not really for me. But it's it's got some great content going in. So happy days.
And where can people?
At Asteldian in game on the EU server, or well, you can contact DCN. I'm there. Or even on Twitter. I'm probably the most boring person in the world to follow. I probably have an average of one tweet every 3 months, if you're lucky. But at Asteldian is there as well. Yeah, so there's probably the place to find me. But as they probably sending an email to DCN is probably the best way.
All right. As for myself, you can find me in game at Aggelos, Aggelos, on Twitter at Aggelos_WOF. You can contact the show at contact@dungeoncrawlernetwork.com or by using the contact us on the website. Either one of those works. Fun episode. I really had a ton of fun with this. Really excited for Orsinium because I'm really looking forward to getting more into the Skyrimese. That's love. Maelstrom Arena looks fun. Really excited for the future of the game, where it's going, and what's all going to. Definitely check us out. Come back for more Elder Scrolls talk next, right here on the YouTube, on iTunes, Stitcher, all those fun. Everyone have a great see you.